I think we're live. I think something is happening. I'm gonna try to add music to these amazing live streams that we have, at least on this one. You know, lighten the mood. The name of this stream, The Hard Truth of Getting Hired as a web developer, software engineer. So I do want to talk about some ideas and hopefully help us to kind of continue on our plan of getting hired. Maybe you're already hired, which is fantastic. But the whole point of this live stream is to talk about the soft skills or some of the things you can do to help you land your job faster. And there's certain truths about things that a lot of people don't talk about because it's kind of not cool to say things that may discourage someone or disappoint someone. And so a lot of times people don't talk about these things. But the truth is, there's a lot of stuff that happens. But before we get into the topic, let me know if the video's going. If it's not going, let me know how you guys doing. I hope everybody's doing great. And so on this live stream on the Saturday, today is Saturday, right? Yeah, Saturday. We talk about the soft skills or other skills that are non-technical skills to help you continue to get better in your job. And one of the things that I want to talk about is this idea of when you're getting hired, nobody talks about, a lot of people say age is just a number, age is just a number. But the fact is, the older you are, the harder it is to find opportunities. And so I want to talk about that today because I don't want to say that ageism doesn't exist. Like, companies can't admit to it that's happening. But the fact is that the older you are, the harder it is to do things in general. Not just learning to code or switching careers or getting a job. Just things get more difficult. So we're going to talk about today. Hey, Edward, great to see you. Glad to be here. And so we're going to, or I should say, glad to have you here. Of course, I'm glad to be here. I'm doing the the podcast. But I do want to talk about all those things. So, like, the good news, the younger you are, the more mistakes you could afford to make. Hopefully, if you don't, right? Because it's really hard to recover from them. But in general, the idea is that the older you get, the more realistic you have to be with your expectations. And so I'm going to talk about learning to code, getting hired, the difficulties of getting hired, and why a lot of us who are older should consider really focusing not just on learning to code. Obviously, learning to code is very important, but consider the fact that there's other things we could do to kind of add to our authority, I guess, or our representations of ourselves to showcase that, we are a good match for a job, or at least build ourselves and market ourselves to be able to stand out. And I think it's very important. And I would be lying to you guys if I said that all of my jobs that I got were just on my own accord, meaning that I was the only one involved in my journey and that there's no opportunity that I had that did not have anything to do with somebody I knew or something, I did in terms of connecting with somebody, meaning that I didn't get this far all by myself. And let me say hello. Thanks, Jatin. The video's live. Fantastic. Yes, it is. Great to see you here. Hey, dude, you have the full interview with John Smilga available or just part 1 of 2 videos? I had some stuff done with him, but then we started doing his podcast that he's currently taking a break because he has a bunch of family stuff, but that's all going to come back and we're going to have more stuff. So in terms of like the older stuff, I did have some videos. I did have my computer crash, and so I lost some of them. So, but we'll be back. We'll be back doing those live streams soon again. But yeah, that's the answer. I wish my computer didn't crash. I lost actually a lot of good interviews with not just him, a bunch of other people. Hey, Northern Jim's good to see you. And by the way, I'm going to have Jack Harrington. If you don't know who he is, amazing dude. If you haven't watched his channel, if you guys want to get legit, great kind of tutorials and advice, you could go to Jack Harrington on YouTube. I'm going to see if I could pull it up. But he's going to be making a appearance next Friday. So let me show you Jack's channel. He's going to be making an appearance next Friday, which will be so awesome.
There's a lot of buzz around micro
I'm so
friends
excited,
right now,
and I'm kind of playing his YouTube channel before we've been changing screens. But here it is. Jack Harrington is going to be on the next live show, and we're going to chat about a lot of cool stuff. More like there's so many things I want to talk to him about, so it's going to be really exciting. I want to talk about how he started, best recommendation to learning to code, what he would recommend for people looking to switch careers, or someone who are a little bit older looking to get into the field. Yeah. And yeah, it does suck, but one thing that I could tell you is like John Smilga and I, we're gonna be back with doing those podcasts, and we're gonna talk more about it. Just he's taking a break. There's a lot of family stuff going on. Nothing bad, but sometimes you just need a break. But he'll be back. So sorry that I lost some of those older interviews, but he'll be back. And what I might do from the interviews that I do have, maybe I'll do some clips and post them on the YouTube channel while we wait. But anyway, Jack Harrington is gonna be with us. He has a lot of great videos, really good instructions, pretty good stuff. And I'm really big on following YouTube channels. Like, don't get me wrong, I love all YouTube channels, but like when you're older, sometimes you just want to get the stuff that brings value up front. Of course, watching stuff for entertainment, there's nothing wrong with it, but I want to find some videos that are actually really helpful to getting to my goal, which was getting hired. And so I like some of these other YouTubers which don't talk about their desk setup, don't talk about their drone footage or like how cool their job is, but they just talk about good, important programming stuff that will actually help you get better at your job. So he's going to be on live stream with us next Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern time. So save it in your calendar. Yes. Yeah. So we're going to have Edward, the stream with Jack on Friday, 9 p.m. But then I'm going to do my regular live stream on Saturday as well. So there's going to be 2 streams next week because I wanted to work around his schedule. So if that's the confusion, that's the confusion. But it's going to be, yes, I love it. Ready to lurk. Yes, please lurk as much as you want. And by the way, guys, this live stream is definitely made for all of us to have a conversation. So I definitely want you guys talk in the comments at any time. If anybody wants to jump in on the live stream and put their face out there, I know some people don't, and just want to chat about stuff, you guys are all welcome to join me on the live stream. It'll be fantastic. And Engine Boy, hello, what's up? And so that's the announcement. We'll get back to other things now. And so the thing that I want to talk about, actually, if you're in the stream and you're comfortable, throw your age on the bottom, like in the comments. Let me know how old you guys are, when you started to code, because obviously there's always hope. But I do want to talk about some of the things to think about, some things to consider, and also some strategies you could use that could help you, get into the tech field. And this is something that happened to me without even realizing that some of the things that I was doing were actually something that was very helpful, especially for me landing the job that I have. And I do want to talk about some other roles that you could have that are outside of being a developer as well. Something that kind of could help for someone who's, let's say, like I'm 41, turning 42 soon, just to put that in perspective. But someone who might have like 35 is an amazing age. I actually started to code at 35, 23. Oh my God, Engine Boy, you're literally 1 year older than my daughter. It's fantastic. 33, amazing. Yeah, so I think like what I would say, early 30s, fantastic age. I got my first job at 39. So that obviously everything is possible. And let me tell you, the struggle that I went through, it's still worth it, right? It's all worth it. So like 35, 33, 34, it's all worth it. Like even if you're 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, whatever, it's still worth it, in my opinion, to change into web development. You just have to understand the reality and know your expectations. Something that somebody told me a couple of days ago, and this guy, by the way, he is he works at a company. He worked there for a while, and he started as a developer, but eventually he kind of started transitioning into like bigger picture, like, more management and other stuff. And I'm not saying that what everybody should do, but what he said to me, which was like very, like I never ever thought about it. And this is why I kind of like wanted to have this stream today and talk about it, and also hear your opinions as well. I'm 31, started at 27, but I started actually putting effort last year. Hey, I get it. I literally started putting more effort like when I was 36. And it took a little bit. It took a minute for me to get hired, but definitely not impossible. But this is what my friend said to me. And by the way, if you haven't smashed the like button, you don't have to. I'm just saying. But if you're going to, you're smashing it for yourself because how awesome you guys are. in this community. But what I was going to do is but anyway, what my friend said to me, he's like, even in his position, which is really, really high up, he's trying to move himself in the company in a way where he's not coding on day-to-day basis. And the reason why he said why is because all these new grads coming in, everybody just seems to be getting smarter and better, faster and younger. And I'm not saying it to like, let's scare everybody. 27, amazing age. Woo. Hey, Jose, good to see you. Yeah, so we have 35, nice. 31, fantastic. 35, excellent. 33. Listen, my channel is working. You know, it's coding after 30, and we got everybody after 30, which is amazing. And this is why this channel is here, because I'm not saying like, hey, like, you're not going to make it. You are going to make it. What I'm saying is that let's be realistic about some of the challenges that we have so we could make the right decisions that we need to make to help us keep moving forward. And so, coming back to what my friend said, my friend told me all these new developers coming in, and he sees it in his job. It's like it's new competition entering the market. So you have to imagine, even though you don't need to get a computer science degree, but if you can, if you're young enough and you're able to, great. If you could do a boot camp, great. Like, but the point is, there's obviously a lot of jobs out there. But at the same time, with all those jobs, there's also a lot of new people coming in to the job industry, and obviously a lot like. There's a lot of computer science grads. And so what I would say is that I think, let's see, is Brian the youngest? No, Brian's not the youngest one here, but Engine Boy, I think, is the youngest. So we got Brian, 28, fantastic. Guys, if I was like, even like in my early 30s, like 32, 33, I should have taken this like much serious. It's like more serious. Like people say, when's the best time to get started? Yesterday. Where's the second, no, like, how's that saying goes? Oh yeah, it goes like, when's the best time to start learning something? 20 years ago. When was the second best time? Yesterday. When's the third best time? Now. Like, just like, great, we're all doing it now, fantastic. But the whole idea here is that, and I see a good comment, I'll come back to it, is that there's always going to be influx of people coming in. And so if there's a number of people that are coming in who are smart, who have the background, how do you stand out? How do you compete? And this is something that I want to talk about. And this is one way to hedge against the harsh truth of getting hired as a web developer as you age. And again, like I said, it's not impossible. It's definitely possible, but you will have to and might have to do some extra work. And so also want to talk about something that happened to me, which I didn't anticipate happening, but it happened because I just had this passion for this YouTube channel. I wrote some articles and did some stuff, and it led to this other, like, and from my past experience in teaching and like the fact that I could talk like nobody's business, opened up other opportunities that I didn't think existed. I also want to touch about those things as well. And so, but here's yeah, thanks, Edward. I appreciate love. Yeah, I'm doing these streams for the amazing community that you let me be part of. A lot of people say, Paul, your community, your community. What do you talk about my community? My community doesn't exist. It's you guys. You're the community. I just happen to be part of it, and I get to chat with you guys. And yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. And so Jose says, I suppose you have to position yourself in a way that age won't matter. And yes, and what I would say is that you need to be able to create a situation where you're building awareness around yourself and like around your name and try to get out there. So you're building personal connections with people that will put you as like the first person on the list. Like when you go on the interview, like for instance, there's certain interviews I didn't get them because I'm Paul and I'm special. I got them because I networked. I met someone through YouTube, and that opportunity led to another opportunity where I met face to face with a person who was in the position to say like, hey, apply here, and you're at least gonna get an interview. And so that's very important. That's something that I want to talk about. 35, nice, great age, and nice. Looking through. Brian says, I wish I started when I was 20, but I was too busy playing Halo. Hey, I get it. And I know the cliche, but become so good that you can't be denied. And that's like a funny cliche, because the fact is there's going to be a lot of people that are just as good as you. So what I would say is that become good enough at being able to do the work, but become more noticeable than someone better than you. And that's actually sounds crazy, but that's kind of what I would say. Like, I'm not the best developer, right? So I would say don't become so good that you can't be denied, because there's probably a bunch of people that are so good that they can't be denied. But become, you know, more like, build more awareness, like basically be good enough to get hired, where people gonna be like, yeah, he knows what he's doing. But build more awareness to yourself of being like, hey, I'm out here. Hey, this is what I did. And one thing I'm gonna show you guys. First of all, I am blown away. So there was a guy that followed my community for a while, and he actually been part of my Slack channel when I had it, and I made an interview with him. That's one of the videos that got deleted, so I was able to recover it by taking my hard drive that was broken and paying someone money to recover it. So I have to put that in an interview, and I feel so ashamed that I haven't put it down. But it's this guy Vahid, right? And we're gonna take a look at some stuff right now, but he used to be part of my community. He's still part of the community. He's just busy doing his stuff. So before I show you like his channel, if you look at his LinkedIn, he says Vahid, linguist and data analyst, and he has basically, he does a lot of posts on his own LinkedIn, and so he has a YouTube channel where he does Python tutorials. And talk about, I'm not saying that everybody should have YouTube channels, or everybody should be writing articles, or everybody should doing, you know, certain things, but I'm saying if you're having a hard time standing out, these might be some of the things you considered. And so he has a video which blows a lot of my videos out. He only has, by the way, 1,500 subscribers, so 1,500 subscribers. And he put out a video, Python web scraping to CSV file. It got 46,000 views. That's way more than any of my videos got. Now, and you look at the comments, like, so far this is the best web scraping tutorial watched on Y2Yet, explained very well the process, blah, blah, blah. But the point is, this guy is getting noticed. He's building his awareness. He's building, let's go to his channel so you guys could see it. And I'll definitely have him back again, and I'll find that other review. But he's posting videos on Python, doing stuff. And so when you see him in LinkedIn, when you find him on Python, you're like, hey, he's a Python expert because he knows what he's doing. You know, and this is something he started to do to build his brand, to build his awareness. So for him, it's going to be a lot easier to stand out because he has some awareness. He has videos that he put out. He created his LinkedIn where he has all his posts, you know, talks about his experience. But what I'm saying, yes, it does take time. Imagine if he's going to get hired and people like, hey, do you have any experience? So like, what do you do? And it's like, yeah, look, I have a YouTube channel where I put out content on Python. These are the Python projects that I built. And because you're constantly teaching through putting out videos, and this is, by the way, the reason why I have YouTube, because you learn best by teaching others. I'm not saying you have to do the YouTube. And Dev Mentor Live, by the way, I haven't seen him in a while. I've kind of been not on Discord, and so I haven't been communicated. I emailed you my phone number so you could text me, bro. I miss you. And Dev Mentor Live, by the way, he helped me a lot when I was starting out, making sense of JavaScript. I actually took privates with him. Very useful, very helpful. And so really smart guy, really good stuff. We got to connect. I got to have you come on the show again because we had a pretty fun show and we had a great discussion on why you should use Next.js versus React. I'd love to continue that conversation, but it will be awesome. Yeah, and so he says, being able to show competency will overcome degree during an interview, but before you get the interview, some companies will just dump your resume. And that is true. And there's like a lot of things you could talk about it. By the way, I had to really tweak my resume in order to get hired. And then he says, then again, probably wouldn't want to work for such a blind company anyway. It's not any different than an artist. You need a body work to sell you. Yeah, right. And 100%. And by the way, let me go to Dev Mentor. I can't spell. Another amazing creator. And by the way, like I said, I took some one-on-ones with him. I know right now he's doing a lot of dev Web 3.0 stuff, which is pretty awesome. But you could check out, he has a one-on-one mentorship program. And you could check out what he does. I still owe him a testimonial. Dude, I've been so like busy out of my mind, but finally got that next job. So hopefully things are going to be easier. But you could check him out. Really amazing stuff. Yeah, it'll be awesome. I'll reach out to you. I don't think I'm able to send out messages to you on Twitter. I still have your email, so I'll do it that way. But anyway, so here's the talk about the reality, the truth of getting hired. Like, ageism is a thing, and I know like Dev Mentor says like, hey, like if you're competent enough. Here's the thing. I just showed you by example. He has a YouTube channel. Like, obviously he has tons of experience. He's been at it for a long time. So like for him to get a job is like probably not that hard. But what I'm saying is that I just showed you his YouTube channel. I just showed you his Dev Mentor Live website. So he's doing like all these things. He built a brand around himself. So like obviously he's been doing it for a long time. But the point is like he's getting out there. He's got his YouTube channel. He's got his website. He's on Twitter too, exactly. And it all helps. It makes Paul is now proactive on Twitter. Part of it is like, yeah, because I gotta build relationships. And I'll tell you like the job that I got, which is like pretty amazing. I got hired as a developer advocate for Strappy, which is basically a combination of being technical, still being in the code, but at the same time being able to advocate for the developer. It's not like a marketing, because you can't sell to developers. No, you like it doesn't work. It's not like you could have a sales funnel and a developer be like, oh, I'm excited about this, and click a bunch of stuff and go through like the email thing. It's like that's not how it works. It's about being able to make connections and to basically make a bridge between the company and the developer and make sure there's no friction. Yeah, and Dev Mentor says, I don't have a degree. I didn't finish high school. But let me tell you, bro, Dev Mentor, but yeah, he says it was hard in the beginning. But this is what I'm going to say. Do you hustle? Do you know how to basically move your ass to get shit done? And usually I don't say a lot of words like this on my live stream, try to keep it family friendly. But the fact about Dev Mentor that I know 100% that he had to put massive effort to get where he is. And so that's what I'm saying. You might not have a college degree. You might not have a high school degree. Like I guess I got Dev Mentor beat. I got my high school degree, but I don't have a college degree. But let me tell you, it's not the degree. It's the hustle that you put into it, knowing that you got to put in the work, that you have to put in the work. And so the whole point that I was trying to say, the harsh reality of getting hired, a lot of people don't want to hear this. If things are not working out for you, there's a reason why. Number one, maybe nobody knows you exist. Like if you don't kind of build awareness, network, it's kind of hard to find those opportunities. And so let me tell you, like I was on YouTube. Just like I met Dev Mentor Live on YouTube, I met somebody else on YouTube, and they actually reached out to me. They're like, Paul, we have an Angular job opportunity available, and here's the contact information. Why don't you send them your resume, and I'm going to put you as a reference. And let me tell you, that got me in the door. It got me to the first interview. I know for a fact, if I sent my resume blindly to that particular company, I would have never gotten that interview. And this is exactly the point that I was going to make, is that, yeah, the love of programming can push you over the line if you can sell it right. And that is the most important part here, is knowing how to sell yourself. I'm not saying like sell yourself as a salesperson, but it's more like, how do you make a case against yourself that when people see you based on what is out there on the internet, how you promote yourself, the connections, the circles you belong to, do you have the authority, right, to present yourself in a way that you will be a better pick than somebody else? And this is very important. Yeah, nothing beats passion, but you could have all the passion you want, but if you're not hustling and bustling and putting in the work, you're not going to get there. Like, this is the craziest thing. If you guys watch my YouTube channel from the very beginning, like, listen, I took one-on-one lessons from, from Dev Mentor Live, right? Mark, I was going to say Mark, but I guess it's not a secret. Everybody like knows who you are, right? And so I started like from very beginning being a complete noob to eventually getting my first job, and so on and so on and so on. And I feel finally I'm at a point where like I could say like, okay, I kind of broke into the field, I kind of figured it out. And I would be lying to you, like I said before, that I did this on my own. It was all from building connections, networking. It was the YouTube channel. I was shocked and surprised helped. Being able to write some articles and publish on your own like website, I'm like, oh, that helped, because it kind of gives you some authority. So talking about, and we're gonna talk about and looking at things, because I think like having a personal brand for yourself is important. And I'm gonna look at some random articles talking about why is personal branding important. And I think here's will be the caveat: if the younger you are, maybe it's not as relevant, but the older you are, you gotta build your like brand. You gotta build your, and I don't want to even call your brand, I want to say like building awareness to others, letting people know that you exist. And this is so important that I can't stress that enough, because it's almost like you don't want to leave the decision making to people where they judge you based on either your resume or based on just the fast 3-second impression that someone could get from you. But the more things that you have that kind of point back and give you social proof, as you will, to kind of that you know what you're doing, the more easier it's going to be getting hired. And that's just the fact of life. That's the hardest truth, is that if you have connections, you're going to get hired. And I talked to John Smilga about it, and I talked to a lot of people about it. Networking and knowing who you know is more important than what you know. So making connections, knowing who you know, networking is more important than what you know. And that is the fact of life that a lot of people are kind of don't want to kind of express. And at the same time, I'm going to tell you, you see these people on Twitter, they're talking, they're tagging other people, they're building their network on Twitter. And the thing is here, what I would say is that they're doing it for a reason. They're building it to grow their awareness on Twitter, to be able to build their awareness. And I think there was an amazing video. I'm going to find it. Obviously, I'm not going to play it, but I'm going to put it in the link because it's super important. Let me go to YouTube. And yeah, I don't know how he would feel me like streaming it on my live stream, so I'm not gonna do it. But I think like, and do like a reaction to it. But what I would say, like, he has this video of getting hired, the truth about getting hired as a dev. It's called, here, I'll show you where the video is called, and I'll share the link in a second. Let me copy the link here. I'll put it in the chat, guys. Yeah, and Engine Boy says, I think native English speakers are always beneficial to start coding. Doesn't matter high school. And except these other countries, where people have to learn English before they start coding. My English is so bad. It's okay, bro. You're doing good. Keep it up. First of all, by the way, I want to say a lot of people, US is probably the only country where people are not commonly bilingual. You talk to anybody else in the world, they are at least bilingual. I work for a French company. At least they speak English and French, and then a bunch of other languages. So it's very common in other parts of the world. Like my fiance, she's from Thailand. Everybody, like majority of like newer people growing up, they both speak Thai and English. So it's very common to be bilingual everywhere except US apparently, which is okay. And that method says, always do what you say you're going to do. You will end up with more work than you can handle. Too many programs break promises, screw people over, and F off jobs. Don't be that guy. And that's 100% true, is that you do have to be a man or woman of your word. And but I could see somehow like sometimes like people like they just get too carried away and take on too more responsibility, and so kind of like stop like not delivering on the promise they made. It happens to the best of us, but at the same time, that's very, very important. And the method says good English is less and less of a barrier every year. And that's 100% true. So what I wanted to say is, let's come back to here, the video that I wanted to share with you. It's an excellent video. The reason why I like Fireship channel is because he doesn't, he's honest, right? He doesn't give you that hype, you know, learn Python in 3 days and you're gonna make $1 billion, right? And so he made this channel, 10 ways to get a tech job, how to land 100K tech job, and 10 strategies. And a bunch of those strategies, like a lot of those strategies, are all about like being active, building that personal brand, and growing yourself. And so this is very important. So a lot of times I talk about, for people it goes into 1 year, goes out there the other year. I just want to tell you, by building connections, you could never go wrong. You could never go wrong. Like, because the more people you know in the industry, the easier it is for you to reach out and easier for you to make connections and find those opportunities. And so once I recently just got hired, right? I got hired recently, and I was kind of thinking back, like, okay, I was gonna go to Facebook, but then I forgot that I'm using, I was gonna share my Facebook, but I forgot that I'm using incognito mode. So let's come back here. Let me pull it up on a different screen just to kind of showcase. And is that I'm gonna kind of show to you guys, like, I'm gonna give you some of my personal life, so please don't spam me. But I just want to kind of talk about, like, want to read something to you guys. And maybe like, yeah, I don't know how to block people's names. That's great. Yeah, I guess, like, I'm not going to show the post, but I'm going to read it to you guys just to kind of like, and Isaiah, I'll get back to your question in a second. Yeah, that's true. Most people now know English. And that's true. Yes. I know plenty of people who's, like, they say their English is not that good. Their English is okay. And they're getting jobs and getting hired. But I'm going to read a post to you guys. So I'm not going to show it to you guys, but I'm going to read it. I'm going to just cover the names because I want to show you guys that people have to understand that it's these personal relationships and connections that help you out better than just your skill alone. And I just don't want to underplay it. A lot of people who make it, they talk about, look how awesome I am. Look how good I did it. Look at me. I'm so amazing. But the truth is they didn't get there on their own, but they're taking all the credit. And so what I want to share with you guys, the reality is that it's the connections and the network that you have that's going to help you out. So I'm going to read the post, you guys. I'm not going to share the screen because it has like other people's names, and so it'll be not crazy. And so I'm going to read it for you. So this is the post that I wrote on Facebook because I wanted to kind of give credit to people where it's due. And I realized that I could identify all the people that helped me along the way. And I just want to put this out there to you just so you guys understand that nobody ever gets anywhere by themselves, because there's always going to be people that either take a chance on you or help you out in some way. And this is why building connections, building a network, building your, I don't want to call it your personal brand, but your personal awareness to reach people and find those opportunities is super important. So I'm going to read this post to you guys, and so you guys could hear it. And this is me kind of talking about, and I'm going to come back to all these questions. Yeah, and I see Dev Mentor's giving amazing help there. So fantastic. So I'll come back to this in a second. But here's what I wrote to the Facebook. I said, it has been a long and difficult journey, but I finally achieved my goal of switching careers late in life. Really, really late. In my late 30s. I want to take this time to thank the people that were directly involved in my journey. JMR for giving me the opportunity to work at her company to build experience that helped me land my next position. She actually hired me at her marketing company to do some basic WordPress stuff. That's how I started. Then JB for spending many Sunday evenings coaching me, learning how to code, and being patient with me when my eyes would glaze over from being lost in the lesson. I had a friend who would do one-on-ones with me, and you might not have one like that. That's why there's plenty of people on YouTube like me, like giving our advice to help you guys out. But I had like a personal coach that would meet with me one-on-one to kind of give me some feedback. And then SB for getting me my first software engineering opportunity at the best company ever, where I worked for almost 2 years for best pay ever. It was amazing. And then I have sad face emoji. So this girl, she passed my resume to her employer that hired me as a React developer, which was weirdly weird for me because it was my first real dev job. But that company did not pay well at all. I literally got paid $13.75 an hour working as a React developer, and it was the most toxic environment I ever worked in. And so I'm not going to share that name of the company. And then DK, thank you for believing JB that who introduced me to DK, David, whatever. And I said, thank you for trusting this person's recommendation that I will be the right fit in your company. I will always be grateful for all that you helped me do and the confidence you had in me. So again, the job that I got hired in I was referred to it by somebody else who already worked at that company. This is why I'm talking about the thing that I talk about, like my personal stuff, where I say, obviously without my family support, my mom, my sister, my daughter, and Boris, my stepdad, who passed away, sadly too early, to see me accomplish my goals. And I just talk about that experience, which was kind of sad because my stepfather always wanted me to be the man that I deserve to be. But at the time, I was still stumbling through my life, one bad decision after another, and I was just making one mistake after another. And he passed away before he was able to see me success, which broke my heart because, like, I appreciated everything he did to me, but because he was my stepfather, I never had it in me to tell him that I loved him. And so when he passed away, I never told him, but I so much respect, so much love to that man. And, but basically I go on, I thank my fiance, I thank everybody that I had kind of experience through. And, I talk about the new job I got. And the whole point here, the reason why I say it is because, look, nobody ever gets to where they're going by themselves. And it's all about making personal connections where you don't just take, but you have to also give some value back and create those relationships. And the reason why I say this is because way too many of us, think that there's a, like a short, like secret how to do this and like whatever. And it really comes down to obviously being competent. I'm not saying be the best developer that they can't deny hiring you, because there's a lot of great developers out there who are just as good as you, but be personable and be good at making connections, where the truth is people like working with people they like. And so if you grow your connections, you build your awareness, and you do that enough, you will have people that be like, hey, I really like Paul. I work at this company. I saw his resume. I know he's working really hard. He's very passionate about what he's doing. Let me recommend him to my boss. Maybe he'll get a job. But hey, what you get is you get those interviews. And so let me kind of come back to the comments here. And it says, and if my YouTube is buffering, I apologize for that. It's the network that I'm in right now is a little bit slow, but it's okay. It'll catch up. It'll catch up. It'll be okay. Just don't hate me for that. And then Isai asks, should my first project be a portfolio, be a mock website? And then Dev Mentor says, which is something that I believe wholeheartedly, is it always best for you to make a real project, find something that interests you, and put enough time into it? Yeah, 100%. And yep. What's Paul's role as a champion? So here's like a great segue here. So, man, I didn't even know this existed, which is pretty amazing because it allows me to take the passion for teaching that I used to have in my previous job, this idea of being involved in community and talking, and also being involved in code. So I got hired as a developer advocate, which is pretty awesome because it really fits with what I like to do. And that's one other thing that I want to talk about, because if you are just looking to get a job as a developer, let's say a programmer, right? You are a programmer, and this is something that some of you guys who might have life experience and still competent at coding and really passionate about coding, this could be an option for you as well. Because if you work just as a developer, you're only getting judged on your development skills. But let's say you worked at a job where you dealt with people, you networked, maybe you had a sales job position, or like me, you've been like, obviously, like I've done a bunch of stuff in the past that I put on my resume, but like I started doing YouTube, really passionate about coding. I guess you guys could see my passion for coding, how excited I'm always about talking about this. I had a blog where I posted some content where I showcase like some programming articles, and here I'll quickly, show you stuff. Why not? Since we're here. And I didn't do too many articles, but I did put some articles, like for instance, I have this article on how to fetch, filter, and render data in JavaScript, and because I'm streaming, my internet's going to be like, oh, loading images is too hard. But I wrote an article, I put some stuff out there, I gave like code examples. And so like, I'm building that authority and being involved, giving back to the community and stuff like that. And because of my work being available online, for instance, you could see me on my YouTube channel, you could see my blog, you see how I interact with people. Also, because I do the live coding, you see like my coding experience. I showcase it to you guys. And so that in itself like helped me, and through building connection and networking, actually helped me like land the role at Strappy as a developer advocate, which is pretty amazing. And to be honest with you guys, developer advocate is a really good position, and it has very competitive pay if you were just to be a developer as well. So if someone has a lot of this other experience that I just mentioned, that could be like a really good position. Or if you're passionate about teaching, if you like sharing, start making content on YouTube, start talking and reaching out. Like for instance, I'll give you an example. Like I'm not going to use Strappy because now I obviously work there, but let's say you really were passionate about Next.js, you really like about Vercel, you could create content around Next.js, around Vercel. You could tag Vercel on Twitter, you could do it on LinkedIn, you could follow the company, you could give feedback at any time, like on their website. Like let's say on YouTube, you see the comments, some might have questions, something about Next.js, you could be the first person to answer that, and you could give this community kind of advice, give back to the community. You're going to get noticed. And so there's a guy at Strappy, and I'm telling you this story from Strappy because this is a real person, right? And this is exactly what happened. But there's this guy, Derek, there. And if you're involved in the Strappy community, you see that he like literally answers all the questions on GitHub, on Discord. He gives so much like help and back. So here's the interesting story about Derek. So Derek, he used to, before he started working on Strappy, he would do like a lot of stuff in Discord where he would answer questions, to a point where people in Discord started being like, hey, Derek, do you work at Strappy? And he literally had to change his name to being Derek, not employed by Strappy, so people know that he doesn't work there. But he gave so much help. He also committed a lot of like PRs and pull requests to the Strappy because it's open source, and he gave so much back to the community that people at Strappy actually invited him to give a talk just because he's so involved in the company. So they flew him to Paris, he gave a talk, and then after that they're like, man, we gotta hire this guy, and they did. And so here's the thing where this guy's passion for something and his like passion that led him putting extra work by giving back so much to the community without expecting anything back, to a point where they were like, hey, we're going to extend this guy an offer. And what I'm saying is that he got noticed because he gave back to the community, and that's how he stood out. And so the whole point here, before I kind of get too far talking on this rant, is that getting out there, being involved in community that you want to be part of or where you want to get hired is very important. And this is why building a connections, networking, and building a personal brand is very important. And before we come back to some of these articles that I wanted to take a look at, why is it important to build a personal brand or why you should do it. What I want to say is that you could literally watch my journey. I know you guys are probably sick and tired. When I started on YouTube, I was literally not employed. I was learning to code. I was just passionate about coding. And you could literally follow my journey from being not employed. Go watch my old YouTube videos, you'll see. And putting in the time, studying all the time, putting in the effort, getting involved in the community, being passionate about what I'm doing. And you could see my growth like on YouTube to a point where now like I'm being recognized by other people. They're like, hey, you're that guy from Coding After. I was at work and somebody like sends me a thing on Slack like, hey, are you that Coding After 30 guy? Because I think I seen some of your videos, and it blew my mind that people like see you. And here's another thing, like my cousin, she has a roommate, and they live in another part of like they don't live in the States. They're like live in Europe, and her roommate like goes to her. He's like, oh my god, I found this YouTube channel. This dude talks about coding. Really cool guy, whatever. And he showed her the video, and she's like, yeah, that's my cousin. So that's the power of networking and building reach. And this is why I feel it's very important if you want to stack the cards in your favor when you're looking to get hired, especially the older you get. You gotta, like, how you compete with someone who got a computer science degree? How do you compete with someone who's younger than you? Well, you gotta, like I said, it's not be so good that they can't deny hiring you, because I would make an argument that everybody who gets out of college with a CS degree is just that good. But it's be competent enough that you could do the work, but build more awareness, more connections, that you're always visible and you have awareness. And you could argue with me, but I know if I didn't do these things, I probably would have never gotten hired or found those positions if it wasn't for other people that I knew, if it wasn't for my network that I was building. And I hope, that makes sense. Let me know if it makes sense or not, or let me know if you have counter arguments. I'd love to talk about it. Let me know. Don't tell me if I'm completely crazy. I already know the answer to that question. But that's kind of like the point is there's so many different things that go into getting hired. For instance, how well is written, like your resume written? Do you have LinkedIn? Is it optimized? Like, are you going on different forums and answering questions? Like, what are you doing to build your awareness? And so we're gonna look at some randomly chosen articles, because I like sometimes randomly looking at stuff and kind of help you guys see that sometimes just being good at coding is not enough, because if nobody knows you exist, how you get out there? And I guess that's why there's this huge push. Like, I'm not a big fan of Twitter, but there's so many tech people on Twitter. It's a great place to connect. But there's so many people on Twitter that, use it exactly for that, to build a network and to build connections and to find opportunities. And so, like, let's take a look at this. Like, Free Code Camp, by the way, has a lot of great resources. And I like him a lot because they're literally doing God's work for the community, giving you amazing content without asking anything in return, which is fantastic. So here's one article, and we could talk about it. Building your personal brand as a developer. What is personal branding? Branding is not just something that companies need to wear, blah, 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 blah. So they give the definition, but simply it's the personal branding basically involves putting yourself out there in particular way to help you promote yourself better. So personal branding is basically building awareness and creating a network of people that you could reach out to for opportunities, and they're able to give you those opportunities because they know you exist. And here's a thing that says, this is hilarious. Brian, I'm gonna get to that in just a moment, because that is a fine example of exactly what I'm talking about. Let me hit that up now. By the way, Brian, you got to come to the live stream soon. What are you doing now? You want to jump on right now? I'm just kidding. You don't have to jump on right now. Pressuring you. It's okay. And I don't know. Are you still in Florida? Where are you at right now? Did you come back? If you're back, let's grab coffee tomorrow. But here's the funny story. Check what Brian says here in the comments. He says, my mind was blown when I saw the dude from my public speaking class coding on YouTube. So Brian and I, we went to Manchester Community College, like, what was it, 10, 11, 12 years ago. And We took the same public speaking class. And back then, people think that I'm natural at speaking. There's nothing natural about me being able to speak. It's me doing a bunch of YouTube, me teaching Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for many, many years to other people in a live setting. I developed this skill to speak over a period of like 15 years. But Brian and I took a public speaking class, by the way, where I sucked. Like, I literally had to go to public, and I was afraid to stand and speak in front of people. I would be so shy. But Brian discovered me on YouTube. He was literally looking to switch careers into coding, and he randomly was looking on YouTube videos, and my video came up, and then he's like, hey, I know that guy. We went to school together. Hey, point proved. This is why building your personal brand is important. God damn, that's amazing. Anyway, if that story was cool, smash the like button. And if it wasn't cool, smash the like button anyway, because by smashing the like button, you let other people discover this amazing channel, amazing secret. And then let me see, Engine Boy says, before we look at some articles, Paul, what do you think of React 18 if you use it? Because I see some people have bad reviews on it, breaking some apps while upgrading from React 17. So here's one thing I'm going to tell you guys. That's a great question, by the way. And on this channel, like on Saturdays, even though don't want to talk too much technical stuff, I want to talk more about like the actual soft skills and things that you have to do to get hired. But when you build a complete application, let's say you used React 16 or what have you, you don't have to upgrade to the newest thing ever. It's okay to version lock your application, because the whole point, new things will always come up, and you'll be surprised how many applications out there are still using, let's say, Node 12. You'll be surprised, because the point is, just because the coolest, newest thing came out doesn't mean, number one, you should use it right away and take your existing application and redo it, because that's going to add additional cost. And if you already have a deployed application that's already working perfectly fine, what you need to do, you have to kind of take stock and see, like, is it worth converting it right now? What is it going to be cost of doing it and rewriting the application? So the point, if your app works, most of the time, a lot of times, it's okay to wait until, thing has been around for a little bit longer before making the transition. That's what I would say on that. So tips on articles writing process and time it takes. So I'm still learning to be a better writer. So you guys don't think that I'm an expert. But what I would say, number one, just create a good outline. And what I would say, if you're starting out, I would not focus on writing like huge articles. I would think about think of it like micro blogging, where you make these shorter posts. So you could do a bunch of them and more often, where you basically I'll give you an example. Let's say you just learned how to use the reduce with arrays, and you're like, wow, this is a great example. So you could basically write, hey, this is how I used reduce, and here's what helped me to make sense of it, and here's a great example of how to do it. And you just do like a quick kind of example of you using it. So it's like a short article where it may take someone 2-3 minutes, like 2 minutes to read, 1 minute to read, and they get the value of seeing how to use reduce. So if you're starting out, those are the type of articles that I would say you should publish. If you go look at my article that I did, and I'll kind of share the screen to come back to it. This article, it's not super lengthy, but it's lengthy enough, and literally took a long time for me to make it, because not only did I have to write this article, I had to create the thing, and look, it goes on and on and on. And what I would say, a much smarter way if I was starting out, is to create shorter articles, right? And then just share them on Twitter and LinkedIn. And so what I would say, my writing process is like this. I built something cool, or I learned something cool, so let me go share it. And what I would do is I would first build a live example, and then I would break it down into the steps, and then I would do an outline. And so I say, first, let's define what we want to accomplish. And then I talk about blah, 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 blah. And then, break it into steps. So I know this is not like a methodical way of doing things. What I would say, actually, let me see. I'm kind of curious. I know Strappy, actually, by the way, what's cool is you could yeah, so this is kind of cool. But what I was going to say, there's all these other websites like Medium, whatever, like that you could actually guest write articles for, which is amazing. I know that you could also write articles for Strappy, and some of the articles that you write, if they get picked up by the company, you could actually get paid for it. But here they have a great example, like very brief, but they say like, you know, and so they kind of tell you the guidelines. Indeed, you want to make sure that the articles you write for us are comprehensive. Anyone like a grandmother could read it, explain everything, useful and practical. And so they give you basic structure. This is kind of like what I'm going to start doing for all my future posts, is I'm actually going to follow this outline. So give a title, give the introduction of what people are going to learn in the article, give the goals of what people will be able to achieve so they could feel a sense of accomplishment that they're going to have when they write that article, and then give requisites in terms of what they need to use to complete it, and then break it down into steps, like first things to do, second things to do, last thing to do, include code, examples, and source and GitHub, and then write your conclusion. And then they have like the description of what everything means. And let me actually share this in the comments here so you guys could reference that, which is like amazing. But that's what I would say for a guideline. And I love that we're all chatting and having a good time. Yeah, so we went to class 2013, 2015. Oh my God, so long ago. It was so long ago, even Brian can't remember. Yeah, like if you're able to just send me a message. I don't know how early you want to wake up tomorrow, but like I'll grab coffee. We could go same Starbucks you went to, if that's not too far for you to go. So Jose, yeah, I'm using WordPress for my blog. Why? Why am I using WordPress for my blog? Because when I first started the blog, I didn't want to spend time creating something myself. So I just got WordPress and I got a template. Why? Because I didn't want to have a blocker that stopped me from getting content out there. I wanted to have my own website, and I didn't want to wait to catch up with my development skills or develop it myself. I just wanted to get content out there because I wanted to like put some posts out there. And so I started with WordPress because there was no friction. Now, with that being said, I am in the process, and listen, like the only reason I'm in the process of doing this is because like I know better, I know more, I already have a job, I don't need to build my influence. So it's okay if it'll take me, you know, a month to create my own website and my blog. But I'm going to, my next, because what I want to do more tutorials. And even though it's kind of cool with WordPress, there's certain specific functionality that I want, and I want it to be way faster. So I'm going to use Gatsby and Strappy to build my next blog. I actually started doing it. And by the way, I think there's a great article, Strappy, Gatsby, blog. And I'm going to make a video about this, by the way, but this is actually a good example. And what you could do, what's cool about this example, you could download the code and you could play with it. This dude, Maxime, did it. It's pretty amazing. And so you could literally try the live demo by downloading this, and it'll kind of walk you through the steps, everything you need to do. And here, I'll share this article as well. But I'm basically going to use this as a template, and then I'm going to create it for my personal blog website. But what I'm saying is this: don't let your coding slow you down. Like, if you're just starting out, I would say don't build your own blog. Just start with WordPress. You know what I'm saying? Because the most important part is you want to blog or post to like dev.io or whatever those other places. I think Brian, I'm gonna call you out on it because he wants to do some posts. So Brian just started a blog. Don't tell me exactly where to find it, but what platform are you using, Brian? Let us know. Yes, and Engine Boy, you're absolutely right. If you're building a blog, I would use either Next.js or Gatsby. If you're going to have just static content, just go with Gatsby. And what I like about this Strappy blog example, you're going to have an amazing UI where you could throw your blog in Markdown or write it in their rich text editor, click submit, and it's going to send a request for your, let's say you deploy Netlify to rebuild and your Gatsby deploy blog and make sure that new content is there. It's pretty awesome. And I will show you, I will make a video about this specific blog in not too distant future, so you guys could see, but I threw it in the link so you could yeah. So, and Wu says Strappy now has auto-generate demo URL. Fantastic. Yeah, and so again, guys, here's like the funny thing that I want to tell you guys, because I know a lot of people that are going to like start following my channel like now, and they'll be like, man, you always talk about Strappy. You are Strappy shill. First of all, I started talking about Strappy since this whole channel been around. I love Strappy, and the reason why I work at Strappy now is because I've been loving Strappy for forever. So it's not that I started chilling Strappy because I work there, because I really like what it does. And for me, as a front-end developer, if I want to make a fast API really quickly and build a full-stack application, I'm going to use Strappy because it's amazing. Like in terms of, I know there's other things out there. And by the way, I'm going to say, you have to pick what's right for you. The reason why I like Strappy is because it's highly customizable. And just like WordPress allows you to build plugins, you could do the same thing with Strappy. By the way, guys, if you're looking to kind of think about like, well, I'm not sure what to build for my project or what to do, the cool thing you could do, you could actually give a go and build some plugins for Strappy, which is kind of awesome. And if you click get started, I think it takes you to the guide of how to get started in building plugins. And what I like about Strappy is the fact that it's open source and they have, you know, pretty decent documentation. Obviously, they release so much new stuff that maybe some things might not be as complete, but we're working on it. And the cool thing is that you could literally, it's like, hey, I'm not sure what to build. Let me build a plugin for Strappy. And the cool thing is that they have an amazing community. They have a Strappy Discord channel where you could get help. And this is, I'm about to show you my favorite thing about Strappy in terms of, and you could, I guess, say that about every open source project, right? But this is why I love Strappy. So the other day I was working on Strappy and I needed to, by the way, if you want to see me code live, I'm working on my project. Actually, let me kind of show you where it is. So this is what we're building. This is currently deployed on the front end is deployed on Netlify, right? And then the back end is deployed on DigitalOcean. But I'm building this team manager on my Tuesday night live stream. Like, I'm using Strappy, but you know, we're making like progress here. But it's going to be a team tracker where you could create a team, assign a project, and have the team members manage the project. So far, we just created the teams, whatever. But it's fine. But the cool thing is here, I need to, for this application, I needed to create a custom sign up, and we didn't hook this up yet, but I needed to be able to add the first name and last name, and I kind of needed to see how did they structure their controller. This is a cool thing about like Strappy, is that all their code is on GitHub, so you could see it. You know what I mean? So let's go to Strappy here. We're gonna go Strappy code base. It's open source, so I was like, man, I need to kind of see how are they handling their authentication. And if you know a little bit about Strappy, they extend the application through plugins. Why? Because it makes it very modular, and it makes it very easy for people to extend it. So if you go to plugins here, user permissions, they have and you click server, it's just the file structure, the way, and then they have their controllers, they have their services. So anytime you make a request to a route, it hits the controller. So I was like, hey, I want to see how they handle their auth. And you're actually able to see the code that they use, the code example. And so for me, I needed to figure out how are they handling registration. And so if I scroll down here, and you could kind of see here, scroll down. That's a lot of stuff here. Whatever. Oh, did I pass it? I guess register. You could search like that. Here, right here. So they have on line 277, they have their register controller. And so I was able to look at the code
And what's cool, because they have a community in Discord, you, by the way, could ask questions, but I was able to see like how they're passing the params. Are they restricting you from adding additional data outside of a username and password, or can I pass additional information like first name and last name? And the way they changed it here, I don't think it's a problem. But I was able to see the code, and by having this as an example, I'm able to kind of learn as well. But anyway, enough talking about Strappy. And let me see here. And Edward says, Paul, how long should we study HTML, CSS before moving on to JavaScript? People have mixed opinions of that. Should we really spend time in HTML, CSS, or mainly focus on JavaScript? Here's the thing. Like, you could study HTML and CSS for the rest of your life. You could do the same thing with JavaScript, and you could do the same thing with React or any other technology that you pick. So what I would say is basically what I like to do, and this is what I would recommend. Let's say you have a resource. Force yourself not to use multiple resources. So for instance, say to yourself, I'm going to take one HTML and CSS course on Udemy, and that's it. Use that course, do all the examples, learn everything they're teaching you, and then after you're done, build a basic website based on what you learned. Then stop, and then move on to learning JavaScript. Use that same process. Take one course, could be anybody's course, but take one course, limit yourself, learn JavaScript, do all the tutorials in the lessons, and then build your own project based on what you learned from that lesson, and then move to React. So push yourself forward with your learning. The truth is, there's stuff that I still don't know how to do in CSS. And the good news is, it's okay, because I could Google it, and I could see how somebody else did it, and I could learn from it. The truth is, you will be learning development for the rest of your life. But to get hired, there are certain requirements you need to do. You have to at least know HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and some front-end framework, and know how to work with APIs, even if it's like using something like Strappy or Contentful, whatever, and kind of understand the basics. And that's a lot of stuff. So if you spend like, a year learning HTML, CSS, you're really not leveraging yourself in the right way to be able to make progress learning enough to be able to get hired. So learn HTML, CSS, learn JavaScript, learn React, learn how to work with APIs, and then start applying to jobs, because by that time you should have some portfolio projects available. Yeah, so fantastic. So Brian, when I said like what platform he's using for blogging, Hashnodes. Yeah, so you guys could set up a blog on Hashnode. I'm waiting, Brian, for your first article. Let's you own your content and even back it up on GitHub. Maybe I'll do the same thing. I'm gonna start a Hashnode blog because you could. And do they use? I'm assuming they probably use Markdown to write the article. I haven't used Hashnode, but yeah. So anyway, back to this thing of kind of what we're talking about is that, look, it's hard to get hired. The older you are, the harder it's going to get. That's just the reality of the situation. So if you're younger, God bless you. If you're in your 20s, fantastic. If you're in your early 30s, it's still amazing, right? But the thing is, just be aware of this idea that it's not just about learning to code. And so, that cliche saying, get so good that they can't deny you, it could be true. But I would argue that everybody who graduates from a computer science degree, they're good enough that people won't deny them. So what I would say, get competent enough that you could do the job, but then be excellent at making connections, building awareness around yourself, and finding opportunity through your connections, right? And this is why LinkedIn is important. This is why writing small articles on Hashnode or having your own blog like I showed for you is important. And this is why having a YouTube channel is important, because this is something that adds social proof to what you do. So now if I go like, I'm Paul, I'm the best ever, that's not the same as, Brian sharing my blog post and showing it to you, or someone talking about my YouTube channel, or somebody like, man, I heard this guy, check out his LinkedIn, right, from other people. That's how you develop your authority in your field, is you get other people kind of, man, I just have to stop because Dennis Ivey makes me blush all the time. Oh my God, Paul, you look younger each day and every day. Oh my God, my skin is getting flustered. I got to shave, then I look like a baby. I actually have to lose some weight too. The only reason I'm saying is because I'm so lazy sometimes that, like, I have to hold myself accountable. So if I tell you I have to lose weight and 3 months from now I still look the same, you got to call me out on it. That's more of a positive thing. But Dennis, dude, I want to have you come on again because I think we had like a great chat, and I want to talk to you, see what you're up to. By the way, Dennis has amazing Python stuff. If you guys like interested in learning Python, definitely check out his channel. But why am I telling you about Dennis? You all know who Dennis Ivey is. Oh my God, I'm giving my channel way too much credit that it's bigger than it is. Everybody knows who Dennis is. It's like amazing stuff on YouTube. So fantastic. But yeah, it'll be great to chat with you at some future. I just love having conversations with people because I love what makes people tick. And Dennis actually has a really cool story of how he got involved in development. And it really makes sense. Like this idea of like personal branding, building your own thing is super important. And this is one of the reasons why I gravitated and wanted to have Dennis on my channel before, because he's not successful because he just knows how to code. I think that personal brand building, knowing how to market himself and building opportunities, that's what really stood out for me from Dennis. And yeah, I'll definitely set something up. I'll hit you up on Twitter. That'll be amazing. But this is why I kind of tell you, like, look, you can't wait for people to hire you. You have to find and create your opportunities. And here's the hedge that I think like Dennis made and I made with my YouTube channel and building my personal brand, and a lot of other people made, is this. It's like, we're going to try to do this thing. We're going to create this content. And this is what I'm going to bet on. I'm going to bet on the fact I'm either going to get good enough and build my network to a point that someone hires me, or I'm going to keep building my brand and my network to a point that I could just make my own products, or I could make my own business opportunities. And I think it's worth it just from that standpoint alone to kind of do that, because if you fail at getting a job, well, you just built an amazing brand that you could reach out and first of all, get connections, get hired. I just got hired because, you know, I found opportunity because of YouTube. But if I didn't, I would still continue building my brand. And guess what? I would find another opportunity. And if I was excited about like making courses and selling courses, I'd probably do that instead as well. But somebody asked me like, Paul, why don't you make courses yet? And the reason why I don't make courses is because there's plenty of amazing courses out there. Like if you want to learn Python, Dennis has some of the best courses out there. If you want to, you know, learn React, like John Smilga has some courses. I'm not going to make courses because I'm not going to be able to compete with them. And guess why I cannot compete with Dennis or John Smilga? Guess. Someone put in the chat why, if I make a Udemy channel or any platform like course, whatever, why would I not be able to compete with Dennis or John Smilga? Somebody put it in the chat. I'll tell you what it is. This is exactly what we talk about this channel, is because they have better personal brand than I do, and they have a better reach through the community that they build. And so they have wider reach than I can. So if they release the course or something of value, they will be way more successful than me because my reach is so small. And so for me, it doesn't even make sense to start making courses right now because I'm not reaching enough people to make it like worthwhile where I'm able to leverage my community. And this is what personal branding is important and available. Like for instance, nobody cares how good Logan Paul is at boxing. Maybe you guys think he's good, but I think he's fighting chumps. You know what I mean? But why is he able to get fights? He has such a huge like reach that it's going to make money. And so people will be entertaining the idea. Yeah, I'll fight him. Like, I'll do that. You know what I mean? Because it makes sense. If he was a nobody, he would not have those opportunities. And this is why I'm telling you guys, building your brand as you're learning to code, and especially if you're older, is so important because it is going to give you those opportunities, because person who's able to reach more people with their awareness and their brand has more clout. That is the fact. That is the fact. Like, why do you know Dennis Ivey? Why do you guys know Brad Traversy? Why do you know like someone like John Smilga? Why do you know somebody else? It's because their brand and their reach is so huge that you're able to easily discover them. And then you automatically believe those people because of the perceived authority that they have. Like I would, you know, and that's what I'm saying. Yeah, and then it says, sounds good. He's down. Yeah, and that'll be amazing. I'd love to have a chat. So anyway, you know, I love the conversations and people talk about, so don't be shy. So building a personal brand is super important. And by the way, there's plenty of articles online, you know, and they have like, you know, free code camp, by the way, has amazing. And why is personal branding important? And then this is what they say. And this establishing a personal brand is important because it gives you an identity in public places. People get to know you for what you do and the impact you have created. And this establishes what you want people to think of you when they see you or your work. This can help increase your connection and let you meet people in similar fields. It also helps you advance in your career when people like your work and projects. They get a sense of what you can offer, and they may reach out to you and offer you opportunities on freelancing or job opportunities that can be valuable to work. And this is exactly how I landed my last job. Like, I don't want to like discredit, like, I don't want to be like, oh, I'm just so great. It's not that I'm so great. And Brian, I would fight that dude for sure. For the paycheck, oh my goodness, I would do it. Brian says I should coding after 30 versus Logan Paul. That dude probably would mess me up because he's 6 something. I'm like 5'7", but I'll still do it. It'll be amazing. Yeah. Everybody loves Logan Paul examples. Dude, my God, that guy knows how to market himself. And like him or hate him, even, you know, it's amazing. Even that guy tech lead, like I don't know if I hate the guy or love the guy, but he still knows how to reach some people. He knows how to market himself. Idrissa says, but Paul, sometimes courses can boost your personal brand. Look at Brad Tracy when he started out. Yeah, that's 100% true, but I think like you need to reach first, you know, to be able to get people. But the point is, like what I'm saying, you don't need to build a personal brand to sell courses. What I'm saying is that you, like, because not everybody wants to sell courses, but you need to have personal brand to build awareness of yourself. And just like we read in this example here just now, this is all like very important because you get to decide the perception of people have of you, right? Like, I'm going to use this example. Let's say Dennis Ivey, you know, he has a huge brand, and he said, like, somebody was like looking to hire me and said, you know what, Paul is a chump. Nobody likes him. I don't think you should work with him. Because he has such a reach and because he's a person of status, like people might believe that. Or he might say, you know what, Paul's a wonderful person to work with. He's very personable. You know, I think you guys should hire him. Like, it means something. And maybe that wasn't the best example. What I'm saying is, by having personal brand, you get to dictate how people perceive you, and you get to showcase the value you could offer. If I show up empty-handed, maybe with my resume, let's say I show up empty-handed to you and you're like, well, I have thousands of resumes and a bunch of them are computer science graduates and you didn't even graduate and I didn't like done any of that stuff that I'm talking about, they'll be like, oh, obviously I'm going to go with a CS grad student. And so, yeah, the harsh truth here is that people make decisions like that. And it's not every company. I will tell you this before people get like discouraged. Many people I talk to that learn to code, they all got jobs. Here's the thing though, their process of interviewing, like everybody I talk to sent out 300 resumes, got, you know, 8 interviews, only 3 offers, and one of them like hired them, right? I knew another guy that came, Alex, he was on a couple of live streams ago. He did 200 resumes, only got 4 interviews, only got hired on 1. So the process, it's not impossible, but just understand it's not easy and it'll be difficult. You're going to have to do, like when people say I sent out 10 resumes and I couldn't get hired, it's not enough. And when you have a group of connections, you build your network, you have a personal brand and have some reach and people can find you, that could take that, instead of sending out 200 resumes, maybe you only have to send out 10, right? And it does work that way. And so I'm saying, if you're not going to build your personal brand, just be ready to really put the hustle in, sending 300, 400 resumes and getting a 2% return or maybe 1% return of people actually calling you back. And that's not anything like new. And it's actually, I talked to this girl. She got recently got hired as a QA. I told her, like, once she worked at her company for 3 months, I want her to come on an interview. I would tell her to like come on an interview like earlier, because I think she has a lot of value to talk about how she took her boot camp and how she got hired and the process she went through. But I know she's going to be busy at work, so I don't want to kind of like stress her out more than I have to. But here's the thing is that there's a dislike, and I'm trying not to pay attention. I'm trying to go to my pristine, perfect, liked live stream, but I guess, you know, you can't love everybody. And I get it. I get it. But, you know, she told me she literally sent out 400 resumes and she only got about 8 job offers. I mean, people love playing with my soul. People with those dislikes and likes. Oh my God. Anyway, she got like, you know, 8 interviews out of 200, like 400 resumes. And I want her to come on and talk to us about the process, because I want you guys to know that there are people that will give you the hype. It's very easy to talk from a point of success. And I hope I don't get there, but you could get to a point where you already worked at a job for like past 10 years. Everything is easy for you. You don't need to try to get a job. And that's different from someone who just started out and who had to work really hard. Because a lot of times you climb the ladder of success, you start to think like, man, I'm so awesome. But the reality is like, no, that's not where everybody starts. And so I want her to come in and talk to us about the process, because I want you guys to know that when someone says I had to do 400 resume, it's not to discourage you, but to encourage you that like, hey, that's normal. You just have to write that many resumes. You have to reach out. You have to practice, go to those interviews, and know that in order to get a yes, that's the number you got to hit with resumes. And the more of a reach you have through your networking, through building a personal brand, I guarantee you that number is going to decrease. And I know that for a fact. And, you know, that's why I appreciate you, Dennis. He's fighting the negative likes. He said like at it. Let me come back up here with the comments here. Yeah, yes, nobody reached that first attempt or second attempt, and don't give up. What, we'll come back to the article. I'm not sure to talk to you guys, so keep asking those questions. Let's open it to chat. Why not? So there's a guy named Luke. I know you've seen him on the channel. He actually did a live with me, and this is what he said to me, which was kind of, he said, I felt like giving up. I almost quit. Like a couple of weeks ago, I almost quit. But he said, it's amazing, like channel like yours and others that I followed, they kept me motivated, not giving up. He said that the day that I almost quit, I decided, you know what, I'm going to go and do one more interview. And the interview he did, he got hired as a C# and ASP.NET developer. And this is what he said to me. He said, man, if I ended up giving up the day before, I would have never gotten the job. And so this idea, like some people give up way too early. And so I'm not saying this is like, you know, you don't know how long it's going to take you. But the point is, you're one interview away from getting hired. And it might take you 400 resumes, it might take you 500, but you're going to get there. Here's the thing. In sales, 1% basically callback is a given. So if you do 100 resumes, you're at least going to get 1 response. If you do 200, 300, 400, you're going to get 4 responses. And out of those 4, you only need to have that 1 say yes. And I know some people, that's too much work, but that's what everybody's doing. I wish the numbers were different. Everybody I talk to, they all say the same thing to me. And the reason why I had a little bit more success not having to send out that many resumes is the reason why I'm telling you, build a personal brand, because that's what helped me. How did I get connected with like my last job opportunity? It's through YouTube. And then I was on a podcast with John Smilga, where we talked to somebody who got to meet me on that podcast, and they happened to be hiring. And I said, hey, I'm going to send my resume. I'm going to say you referred me to them. And that's exactly what happened. If I didn't have that person as a connection, they would have looked at my resume. They got thousands of resumes. You know what I mean? That would have been hard. And so what I'm saying, if you want to get a job, expect, like, especially if you're starting out, you don't have a college degree, expect to send out 300, 400 resumes. But if you want to increase your chances, start building your personal brand, start getting involved in that community. That's the way to do it. And we were talking about like this idea, like if I were to make a course, why wouldn't I make a course now? Is because I wouldn't be able to compete with people at that level because my personal brand is not strong enough. I don't have a good enough reach. But I say if you're going to put our course directly competes against Cold Steel, Academy, Jonas, you'll need to also be ready to keep those web dev courses up to date. And is it worth the work if you don't have to reach to begin to get enough customers that come back and the new ones? And that's 100%. Yes, that's right. And so that is the fact. You know what I mean? And by the way, competing with Cold Steel, those big names, it's almost impossible. Even if you have the reach, nowadays, like the people that are first to the market are the people that are going to rule the market. And so that'll be hard. Guys, we're doing like open questions. So please reach out, ask whatever questions right now, because I'd love to. Like one of the things I love about the stream, I don't want to just talk myself. I want you guys to talk. So any questions, anything you guys like to mention, you could always watch these streams later if you just sign up, but let's talk, let's chat, let's have a conversation. Like, don't be shy, you know, even if like, let's say, Paul, your haircut stinks, whatever. Maybe don't say that. I have feelings. I don't have feelings. It's okay. But let's talk about stuff. Yeah, that's some strategy that people use where you make evergreen courses. And yep. And those courses are amazing supplements, not zero to getting to job ready. Yeah, but what I'm saying is that if I was nobody, basically this is the whole point. If I was a nobody and I released a course, I would get 0 sales. Nobody knows me. Nobody does that. If I build my personal brand first, I create a lot of like YouTube videos where I provide a lot of value. I get to like 100K subscribers, maybe 50, maybe 20,000 subscribers, and then release a course, I'll be more likely to have it succeed because it's going to, first of all, people already sold an idea of like me as a person because they follow my channel and they know the value that I've been providing, that whatever course I release, I'm not trying to fleece anybody and blah, 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 blah. They build trust and so they'll buy. But that can't happen if nobody knows who you are and you didn't build that brand trust or that awareness. And Dennis is asking, where do you work now? So funny enough, I got hired by Strappy working as a developer advocate. And honestly, 100% like it wouldn't happen if I didn't do the things that I'm talking about, like build my brand, share the content, do all this work and all this stuff. I would have never got there. So, which is amazing. And Idrissa says, I know this girl from Hong Kong who's web dev bootcamp grad and totally amazing. She has a GIS degree and I think she can totally make it. 100%. And Paul, share your pay. Well, I'm not going to share my current pay right now. It's better than my last pay with amazing benefits. And my last job, I got paid $80,000 as a developer. So I am doing pretty good now. Like, so I went from making basically my very, very first dev job. Like I said, I made $13.75 an hour, which is, what's that? That's like $24,000 a year as a developer to where I am now. So, you know, like it's good. Let's just say that I'm in a different tax bracket, which sucks. But that's okay. I'm not going to complain. Kind of specific. I live in Connecticut with my family, 5 kids. Do you happen to have any insight into job market here? So I know a recruiter that actually works in Connecticut, New York, I believe also, and maybe Boston, but she mostly specializes in Connecticut. So send me an email at codingafter30 or hit me up on LinkedIn. Oh my God, sorry for hip cupping. Codingafter30@gmail.com. I'll send you like her LinkedIn. You could ask her some questions. She'll be like a good fit. Well, what? I deleted that message. That's so funny. No, it's perfectly fine. I don't mind like sharing like in private. I don't want to make it public. No, it's good enough. It's more than 80, you know. So I'm moving up. The best part about Strappy, it's their work culture is amazing. Like I'm gonna work there as long as I can, like 100%. I really love the people there. I love the product. I love what I do. And so for me, I just wanna I mean, it's amazing. Like I don't see myself leaving there. I'm actually like super excited, super happy to be there. People are so amazing. And then Edward, what I would say, like boot camps are expensive, and there's a bunch of different ways. The girl that I mentioned who did 400 resumes got hired. She actually did a boot camp, which was in QA testing, and she was able to get a job. And her boot camp was like $5,000, and that's I think like the most affordable boot camp I ever heard. Because a lot of boot camps that go 15,000, 20 grand. I mean, they're not cheap, right? They're expensive. But I would say if you're able to swing it, it's definitely something that might be helpful. But here's the rub: it's not guaranteed. Like what she told me, she said half of her class was able to get hired and the other half wasn't, and that could be to the fact that maybe they did not send out enough resumes. But I feel like if you're young enough, getting a computer science degree, if you love it so much, definitely worth it in my opinion. If you're a little bit older and you want to, like, you have hard time learning things on your own, going and doing a structured career path like a boot camp is super like important. Another avenue, you could go to a community college to do a 2-year degree, and that's awesome because you could learn a lot of good stuff, but then you could also transfer and get a 4-year degree if that's something you want to do. But I think boot camp, like, you know, they're hit or miss, and I feel like you have to find a good one and do research. My plan was, if I couldn't get hired, was go to a boot camp. I was actually going to go to that same QA boot camp that this girl that will eventually be on the podcast went to. But I didn't go because I did get hired. So I think all the approaches work, but at the end of the day, they come down to how much are you willing to hustle to do those resumes, to make sure you have stuff on GitHub, to make sure your resume is good, make sure your LinkedIn is good, and reaching out to people like crazy. So Nash13, what I would say, hi Paul, when it comes to starting the project for projects, do you suggest using Bootstrap to custom CSS? Well, I would say your first project, learn to style it yourself with CSS and Sass. But after you understand the basics of CSS for your next project, maybe you want to show more of a complexity that like your JavaScript code, like relying on something like Bootstrap is fine, or Tailwind is fine. If you're doing like a React project, you could even use Material UI. But I would say for your initial project, learn CSS and Sass so you understand how it works. And then when you start building more complex projects where you're more showing off your like JavaScript or React code, whatever, it's okay to focus on Bootstrap. That's what I started to do. Why? Because I'm only one person, and some of these projects get complex enough that if I were to do everything from scratch myself, it would take forever. Another reason why I would say after a while, using something like even like buy a template with Bootstrap or something, you know, using some sort of framework, is that it gives your application consistency and it makes it look like way better. So if you take a look at, we're building this application on our Tuesday night live stream, and I actually bought, I'm not saying buy Tailwind template that they have, it's actually not cheap, but I bought the Tailwind template and I'm using it in this project, and it already makes it look professional and stand out. What's the name of her bootcamp? Let me search it here. Actually, is it in San Diego? Hold on, let me go off screen for a second. I'm gonna check, hit up my friend on LinkedIn. I forgot what it was. It's like a while ago. Yeah. By the way, like, how you guys doing? How's everybody doing? You guys all having a good time? I hope you are. I hope you are. I have a great time. Every time we do a live stream, I get so excited. Have such a great time. It's so awesome. A lot of fun. I'm just gonna search to see my friend LinkedIn. Yeah, it's funny. Like, I don't mind sharing all my personal stuff with you guys, but like my friends and other people, you know, I don't want to share that. Keep it public. So, but I'm gonna search her on LinkedIn. So Anna, does she put? She works as a QA engineer. Let's see what she. Let me go view her profile. Oh, she has a premium LinkedIn. Fantastic. About blah blah blah. Talk about what she did. Where's her? I'm just showing, trying to see her resume. If I don't find it right now, I'll definitely find it like for next time. But let's see here. I don't want to spend the whole time searching. See all details. Deaf Mountain has a QA bootcamp. Don't know if it's the same one. Might be, but I think it's another one. It's yeah, yeah, I think it's a different one. But yeah, I'll find out. It's really good. I almost went there, and it's actually a really good price. And what I like about their bootcamp is that they hook you up with a internship, and it's a paid internship. And what's awesome about that paid internship is that that's where you get your experience to be job ready, and then you're able to get hired. And you know what? Sadly, I don't have premium LinkedIn, so I might not be able to see some of the stuff. Oh, hold on. No. Okay, never mind. I'll have to find it later, but I'll find out what it is. Where's my phone? Maybe I'll text. Okay, I don't. My phone's too far. I'm gonna message her now. I don't think she'll respond to me on this stream, but we'll see. And Dennis says, inspiring stuff, Paul. Always good to hear your voice. Good to hear about Strappy. Yeah, thanks, Dennis, so much. Man, like, let me tell you, having like a lot of these like people on YouTube, weirdly enough, and now I'm like one of those guys, help me stay motivated to believe in the dream that sometime will happen. And following some of these channels where you kind of like, man, if they could do it, I could do it. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of a good way to stay motivated. I will say though, there's a mix though, because everybody likes success stories. Nobody likes the failure stories. So a lot of times, you know, that's all we hear. But the truth is, it's not easy to make it in this field unless you're like super like hustling. And Dennis here, I love this. Always hustling. I took a job recently also. Didn't need the money, but it helps buy a second house. Bank that like business owner. Lol. Nice. Yeah, that's super awesome. I honestly like definitely makes sense. So I actually had 2 jobs for a while. I just cut like now that I got this job at Strappy, I decided having 2 jobs in my case doesn't make sense because I do want to grow this YouTube channel and eventually have a business around YouTube as well. You know, follow in your footsteps, Dennis. But working at Strappy and having YouTube, and especially the role that I have now they both go well together. So this is awesome. But yeah, dude, you got to do what you got to do, because the world is crazy, and the more money you can make up front to either invest in a property or invest, in the stock market the smart way. Like, don't listen to my financial advice. I'm terrible. Or like, a lot of people like, NFTs, buy crypto right away. You got to be smart with your money. Here's the thing I'll tell you about investment. Like this is going to sound like pretty crazy. And this only probably applies to people that live in the US. If you're not maximizing your 401k at your job, and you're not maximizing, let's say, Roth IRA, and you're not able, there's no point of like trying to go crazy with crazy investments. You know what I'm saying? You got to do the basics first, build a foundation, because it's very hard to make money and it's very easy to lose money. And so what I would say to people, start with basic, 401k, and start with Roth IRA. And then after that, find a financial advisor to help you. You know what I mean? Because the people that's what I'm going to say. And then you'll be okay. Do the basics first. Like, I don't know any crypto because I'm still doing the basics. Maybe one day. But anyway, the biggest thing is, I guess, we're getting out of hand here. And then Idrissa says, congratulations on the job and the house, Dennis. Like Paul said, you always put in good out information, 100%. I'm gonna, engine boy, smiley face. I'm gonna invest in my own self, my own business. Oh my God, Jesus Christ! Like, I had to buy a new work computer. I had to buy a monitor. I had to buy a light and this microphone and the 2 lamps that I have back here. And I bought them on credit. Oh my goodness! But anyway, but yeah, the best thing you could do, and I don't know why this is turning into like financial advice. I guess it's coming from a 41-year-old who made a bunch of mistakes. Here's the thing. If you are in debt, right, whatever debt you have, the best thing you could do is pay off your debt first and never go into debt again. And then maximize your 401 and Roth, and you'll be okay, right? That's like the advice. But as long as you have debt, like, which a lot of people do have, by the way, it's actually like, try to pay it down as quickly as you can, because it's like extra weight on your shoulders that makes life difficult, because every problem you have is a huge problem. But if you have no debt and maybe a little bit of savings in your emergency, and you have issues come up, they're just a lot easier to deal with. But anyway, I know we're hitting like already an hour and 42 minutes, and I usually, like, I'm trying to keep it down to 1 hour and 30. Do you guys have any additional questions? Anything you want to say before we go? I just want to say, listen, without you guys, I wouldn't exist. I don't have my own community. You guys are the community, and you allow me be part of your community. So I thank you for that. Always thank you for the fact that you guys are listening to me on a Saturday. Hold on, like, before I go, let me check my email here. Sometimes I type things too fast and I misspelled, but it's codingafter30@gmail.com. Inbox, let me check first. Yeah, I got your email. I'll respond to it tomorrow if it's okay. Just a little tired. But yeah, I did get it. Oh yeah, let's talk about motivation. Before I go, there was a question. Can you please suggest any tips on getting the motivation and the energy to code after coming home from coding in the office? After getting a job, I have started to ignore working on personal projects. What I would say, like, look, and I'm assuming, Nash, this is a job in development, correct? Man, Albert, always glad to have you here. Big B420, thank you for joining us. And before I go, I just want to say this. If you already have a job in development, what I would say, you need to find a balance. And this is something I struggled for a long time, and I still have a hard time struggling. But what I would say, if you have a job, let's say you just started out, especially if it's your first job or your second job, what I would focus on is only study things that are related to the things you're doing at work. Why? Because you want to make sure that you are at least able to do the job there and that you're standing out as a developer, because that's your main focus right now. And so that way you also don't have to spend too much time, find whatever time you can. And it is hard to be motivated. And sometimes, by the way, some people just don't do any coding at home. I'm not that person. I'm always afraid that I'm going to lose relevancy and someone else at work is going to get past me. So I'm always studying, always trying to learn as much as I can. But what I would say, if you already have a development job and it's your first job, focus on only studying things that are relevant for you to do your job well. And so that way, you don't have to context switch by trying to do something else. And you're learning something that the next day at work will help you. And what I would do is, spend an hour or so every day, Monday through Friday, and keep the weekends completely free to do whatever you want. If you decide to do some extra coding, then do it. But what I would say, if you got your first job, just spend some extra time. And a lot of people do this, by the way, is to make sure that the job that you currently have, that you are being the best that you can be there. Because at the end of the day, that's the job that's going to let you get the experience that will allow you eventually to switch to a different job that will pay you more money. And so that's what I would say. Yeah, health saving account, 100%. And can you use for pharmacy subscription, dentist visits, obviously anything to do with doctors, for sure. And Idrissa, thank you so much for being here. She says, thank you so much, Paul. Jose says, thank you for the live stream. Jose, I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you guys. Says, and the big thing is, it's before tax from your paycheck, so possibly lower, but 100%. That's something that I have to work on. Yeah, my boys have a condition, high health expense. Having HSA helps a lot. And this is like a great point you bring on, by the way. This is why a lot of people say self-employed, self-employed, self-employed. The hardest thing to do when you're self-employed is to have good health insurance. And if you do, it's going to be super expensive. This is why for a lot of people, having a job with a company that has amazing health insurance makes a lot of sense, because especially you yourself or anybody in your family, if they need that health insurance, you want to make sure that you working at a company that provides the best insurance for you, where you don't have to like bankrupt yourself going and dealing with that stuff. So this is actually the reason why I want to work for companies, because I want to make sure that for my fiance, my future wife, and if we have more kids, like I'm able to provide the best insurance for them. God forbid anything happens. And that makes like 100% sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. And Idris say, Paul advice, so legit, study for your job first. Yeah, 100%. Like all the studying that I'm doing now, and luckily because I love Strappy, it's all related to Strappy, all better to understand, so I could be better at my job. And then he says, I feel like work adjacent stuff could be useful, like if you're interested in the game development, try building it in JavaScript. What I would say, to be honest with you, this is a great point. I just want to say this. Maybe that's not what you meant exactly. Like, I love games. I love game development. I want to make games, but even game development, it's so far removed in terms of the stuff that you have to do for day-to-day web development stuff that I actually gave up learning game dev, even though it's related to programming, but it's not related to the job that I do. So even for me, like, I'm like, man, I don't have time to do everything. And if I'm going to do something, let it be something that will help me get better at my job. And if I do something extra, let me make a personal project that's still using relatable technology that helps me grow in my career and my job. Engine Boy says, thanks. No, thank you, Engine Boy, for being here. Idrissa says, thanks for the pro tips from Jay Sega. Jay Sega, thank you. Thumbs up. Anyway, guys, I could talk for you guys forever. Lots of love. What I want to say, I hope you guys have the best rest of the weekend. I hope the week goes for you really well. By the way, next Friday, we got Jack Harrington with us. He's the guy from the YouTube channel, Blue Collar Coder. It's going to be amazing stuff. It's going to be Friday, 9 p.m. So next week, we're going to have Friday stream and Saturday stream. By the way, every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time, I do a coding live thing. So join us for that. But with that being said, thank you so much for everything that you guys do. I love you so much. And I'm going to go get some coffee and then binge watch Netflix before they go out of business and cancel more of my favorite shows. Somebody says, why is Netflix losing all this money? Is it because it's not because they're sharing passwords? It's because every time I get hooked on the show, Netflix goes and cancels that show that I just watched. So I get so excited and I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait till they make that next episode. And what do? Is they cancel that show. They cancel it. And then I get so disappointed and depressed because like I was expecting the show and now it's no longer here. And that's why I gave up on Netflix. By the way, if you want to see a crazy show on HBO, they have Raised by Wolves. Oh my God. But anyway, with that being said, see you guys later. Love you. Take care. And okay, I'll let that slide. Yes, games like that use vanilla JavaScript and also CSS to style. Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that. But for me, like I'm all about, and it does depend on how you do it, is it has to move me in the direction that I want to go. All the things that I align, like this YouTube channel, is aligned with me moving forward in my career. The type of projects I do, they're all aligned. What you don't want to create is this tug of war between two different things that you like that pull in the opposite direction. But thank you, everybody. I know I keep saying goodbye for past 20 minutes. Yeah, Netflix be canceling everything. Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, I gotta go, guys. I gotta go. I love you guys. Yes, yes, yes. But I love you all. I gotta go. I gotta go. My gosh. Bye, guys.